Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. Today we'll recap last night's Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Then we will preview Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final. Let's see if the series ends tonight. The Major League Baseball, WNBA, soccer, we have a portfolio pick to give out because it's Tuesday. My latest NBA mock draft, NBA off-season predictions. Looking forward to that. News and notes, and best bet. We'll start the NBA Finals. Game 5. It was a slugfest in terms of less offense, to say the least, as the Nuggets come out on top 94-89 to win their first NBA championship in franchise history. Nikola Jokic, 28 points in the victory, along with 16 boards and 4 assists, and he was named Finals MVP. Jamal Murray only had 14 points, 8 boards, and 8 assists. Michael Porter Jr., 16 and 13. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope had 11. Bruce Brown had 10 off the bench, including a go-ahead shot with less than 2 minutes to go in the game. Christian Braun got some good minutes. We even saw a DeAndre Jordan sighting and a Jeff Green sighting in the first half, which was interesting. And in Miami, Jimmy Butler wasn't good until the later stages of the game. He had 21 points and 5 assists. Bam was good. He had a 20-12. Max Strus had 12 points, 8 boards. Kyle Lowry had 12 off the bench, including 4 3-pointers. Caleb Martin had 10. Tyler Herro was active but did not play. Coach's decision. Eric Spoelstra, to me, probably should have played that card since he was back. Then why activate him if he wasn't going to play? But we'll get into that in a second. Congrats to the Nuggets. They deserve this title. They were the best team all season long from start to finish. Nikola Jokic, as I said several times on my podcast, has cemented himself as the undisputed best player in the NBA, hands down. And Jokic and the team was just having a grand old time celebrating. He won the Finals MVP, 30.2 points per game, 14 boards. He had a moment with his daughter, Agnasia Jokic, which was cute. He poured beer on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He had a viral champagne moment. Twitter was having fun with an old Jokic picture of when he was 5 years old wearing a Nuggets sweatshirt. Jokic also says we can go home now. Him and his brother were throwing Mike Malone in the air. Jamal Murray was in tears after his ACL tear. He goes from ACL tear to NBA champion, and well-deserved for Jamal Murray. And then Jokic tackled Jamal Murray into a pool, which was cool. But yeah, it was a great run for the Nuggets, and it was one of the better playoff performances from a team I've seen since the Warriors when they had Durant and Curry. But I think that there's parallels between the two teams. I mean, obviously that Warriors team had more star power, but you could argue that this Nuggets team had more depth to it. And then obviously Denver, their toughest challenge of the playoffs was probably that Suns series, low-key. Because that series went 6. And Durant and Booker were just incredible, and that's why that series went 6. And then you can make a case the Lakers, even though that was a sweep. That was the most competitive sweep I've ever seen. It's just that the Nuggets find ways to win these close games. And Jokic and Murray and all the role players really do their parts. And that's a big reason why they are NBA champions today. And this was my preseason pick to win the West. And I remember before the year, it was either them or the Bucks. But I went with the Bucks because I felt that Giannis was the best player in basketball. But no, it is Jokic. And they have an excellent chance to repeat for next year, in my opinion. They're going to be the team to beat in the West going into next year. And you'd be stupid not to say that because they have the best player in the league in Jokic. You just can't go against Jokic, barring injuries, obviously. And then the what if of the last couple of years, Jamal Murray tearing his ACL set the Nuggets back. If he didn't tear his ACL, maybe we're talking about a potential dynasty. This could still be a potential dynasty. But maybe we're talking about this team winning multiple rings if Murray doesn't tear his ACL in 2021 against the Warriors. And then Porter is somebody that's been very polarizing. And he made some big shots and got some really big rebounds for the Nuggets. And even Aaron Gordon had moments. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, this is his second championship. He won one with the Lakers in the bubble in 2020. And now he wins his second ring in a 4-year span. But yeah, we don't know what's for certain. We all know that. And you can't take anything for granted. But the Nuggets are going to be the favorites next year, barring some weird stuff. And the conference will probably be better by default. You're going to obviously have the Lakers with LeBron and AD, assuming that none of them gets traded. The Suns with Booker and Durant. We'll see what happens with Minnesota. Memphis obviously is going to take a step back with John Morant not playing a good chunk of the season. We'll see what happens with Portland. They're a wild card. They can go in any direction. Sacramento's on the come. We'll see what happens with the Warriors. We'll see what happens with the Clippers. But the ifs and ands and buts, there are no ifs, ands, and buts with the Nuggets right now. They're NBA champions and they should be the favorites going into next year. So, what a run for Denver. They do have some free agents that they have to worry about. Bruce Brown is probably the most relevant free agent on their team. Spot Track has him as the number 2 shooting guard in free agency. A couple of their role players are free agents too, other than Bruce Brown. Jeff Green, who we saw play in the series. DeAndre Jordan, he's not really relevant anymore. Thomas Bryant, Reggie Jackson, and then other bench warmer guys are free agents on the team. Ish Smith. But yeah, the only one that's really worth looking out for in terms of a free agent is Bruce Brown. So we got to keep our eyes on that for free agency and see whether they bring him back or not. The Miami Heat, they had an incredible run. I criticized Eric Spoelstra, who I think has cemented himself as the best coach in the NBA. And Mike Malone has to be in the conversation now too with winning the title. Obviously as well, so we didn't even give Mike Malone his shout. But Spo, I think, is probably the guy that gets the most out of least right now. He just made some decent coaches look foolish throughout the postseason, like Mike Budenholzer and Tom Thibodeau. And Joe Mazzulla, I don't think, is a good coach, so he doesn't count. But those two, and then even Mike Malone in Game 2, but they did not, obviously, win the series, Miami. But they should be proud of the run that they've had. They had a disappointing regular season, as we know. But they made up for it with this run to the finals. And that's what everybody's going to remember about this Miami team And then Jimmy Butler's a question for me. He's obviously injured. He really hadn't been the same player since that Knicks series after he hurt his ankle. And he really wasn't good. So it's impressive that they've made the finals in spite of Butler and not being healthy. Bam Adebayo, I feel like, took his game to another level in the series. They always had the random hot guy from three, but they didn't have it in the series, and that's ultimately why they lost in 5 games. And obviously Butler's health as well. But they have a lot of big free agents. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Cody Zeller, Kevin Love. So there's guys that they that were big parts of this run that are free agents. And Udonis Haslem doesn't count. To me, he's probably gonna retire. So we'll see what happens with Miami. The East next year, I feel like there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts in the East as well as the West. I feel like the only certainly in the NBA is the Denver Nuggets. We have Miami free agents to take care of. But my question is, was this their window? I'm willing to say yes. Excuse me. And I feel that this was their chance. Boston's going to be better because they have a better coaching staff, and we'll see what they do in terms of their roster. The Sixers are a what-if team, depending on James Harden and whether he stays or leaves. And if he leaves, who goes in there? They have a better coach now, Nick Nurse, so that helps them. The Bucks obviously have a new coach. We'll see what happens there. The Knicks could be a team that makes a jump if they trade for a star. Brooklyn, if they trade for a star, they'll be in the conversation too in the East. The Cavaliers are up and coming, but there's a lot of people down on them after they lost to the Knicks, so they might make a few changes. So we'll see. A lot of we'll sees. I feel like the only certainty going into the next season in terms of who's going to be a title contender is the Denver Nuggets. That's it. And that's whether they keep Bruce Brown or not. So we'll see with Miami. And my predictions are going to be coming up in the show later on. All right, the Stanley Cup Final resumes tonight. Game number 5. The Vegas Golden Knights are hosting the Florida Panthers. The Panthers facing elimination on the road with the backs against the wall. Vegas is minus 182. The Panthers are plus 150. Over under 5.5. Over is minus 124. Under is plus 102. Florida plus 1.5 is minus 176. Vegas minus 1.5 is plus 146. I love the under. Potentially no Matt Tkachuk due to that injury he suffered in Game 4. It was the shoulder joint, so we'll see whether he plays or not. But regardless, I really like the under. I think that Aiden Hill and Sergei Bobrovsky will be on their A games like they've been most of the series. Well, really just Hill. Bobrovsky was bad in the first 2 games. But I really do like the under. But if Tkachuk plays, I'll be willing to take the Panthers to force a Game 6. So, give me the under for my pick for the podcast. But straight up, if Tkachuk plays, Panthers force Game 6. If not, I'm going to say Vegas closes out. So it's going to be an interesting one tonight for sure. All right, baseball. We'll go over the results from yesterday's small window and look ahead to today. Tigers over the Braves 6-5 and 10 on a walk-off single by Spencer Torkelson. So some weird results for the Atlanta Braves lately. Rockies over the Red Sox 4-3 and 10. So I was right about that. Giants over the Cards 4-3. Angels over the Rangers 9-6 and 12. Reds over the Royals 5-4 and 10. So a lot of extra innings. Mariners over the Marlins 8-1. D-backs over the Phillies 9-8. So best bet won. As the D-backs won in spite of a JT Realmuto cycle. And the A's upset the Rays 4-3. The Athletics are on a winning streak. I don't think anybody would have expected that. They swept Milwaukee, and now they beat the Rays. What a terrible loss for Tampa. But then again, first game on the West Coast usually doesn't bode well. So there's that built-in excuse, but that should be no excuse if you're the Rays. All right. 6:30 tonight, you have the Braves and the Tigers again. Spencer Strider and Reese Olson. Atlanta's minus 270. Detroit's plus 220. Over under 8. Overs minus 105. Unders minus 115. Braves minus 1.5 is minus 162. Tigers plus 1.5 is plus 134. I like the under. Full game. And the hedge went Panthers in 6 for the Stanley Cup. I've been willing to throw in the Braves money line with the Vegas Golden Knights money line and maybe a few others depending on what I like. 7 o'clock, you have the Jays at the Orioles. Good game. Chris Bassett and Dean Kremer. The Jays are favored minus 130. The O's are plus 110. Over under 8.5. Overs minus 122. Unders even money. Jays minus 1.5 is plus 126. O's plus 1.5 is minus 152. Chris Bassett's been pretty good recently. So I'm going to go under 4 Oriole runs, minus 118. Next, Rockies Red Sox from Fenway. Chase Anderson and Cutter Crawford. Sox minus 225. Rockies plus 188. Over under 9.5. Overs minus 118. Unders minus 104. Rocks plus 1.5 is plus 102. Red Sox minus 1.5 is minus 122. Full game under, no-brainer pick. On TBS, Yankees Mets. I gotta be honest, this is the least enticing Subway series I've seen ever. No Judge, no Alonso. It's just lame and boring. Luis Severino and Max Scherzer. Mets are favored minus 152. Yanks are plus 128 over under 7.5. Overs minus 118. Unders minus 104. Yanks plus 1.5 is minus 162. Mets minus 1.5 is plus 134. This one's easy. Max Scherzer is going to look like the Max Scherzer of old. I'm going under 3.5 Yankee runs, minus 114. I think it's stupid to assume that the Yankees are going to score over 3 runs without Aaron Judge. Max Scherzer is going to look like the Max Scherzer that the Mets have hoped and dreamed of when they signed him. Mets, money line. Yankees, under 3.5 runs. Same game parlay. And over Max Scherzer strikeouts. And then probably under on the Met runs, too. Would be interesting because they don't have Alonso. 7:30, Brewers Twins. Corbin Burns and Pablo Lopez. Twins are slight home favorites, minus 116. The Brewers are minus 102, over under 7.5. Overs minus 118, unders minus 104. Brewers minus 1.5 is plus 164. Twins plus 1.5 is minus 200. So the Brewers are favored on the run line, but the Twins are favored on the money line. I'm going to go with the Brewers on the money line at minus 102. I think Corbin Burns is starting to turn a corner. 7:45, Giants Cardinals. Alex Cobb and Jack Flaherty. The Cards are minus 112. The Giants are minus 104, over under 8.5. Overs minus 120, unders minus 102. Giants minus 1.5 is plus 152. Cards plus 1.5 is minus 184. The Cardinals have been dismal this year. There's no other way around it. I'm going with the Giants on the road at minus 104. 8 o'clock, Angels Rangers. Jaime Barria and TBD for Texas. Texas is favored though, minus 130. The Angels plus 110, over under 9.5. Overs minus 112, unders minus 108. Angels plus 1.5 is minus 166. Texas plus or minus 1.5 is plus 138. Berea's actually been really good this year. I like full game under. That's high. Pirates Cubs from Wrigley. Luis Ortiz, Jameson Taillon. So we'll see if the Pirates can get it done as a road dog. They're plus 114. The Cubs are favored minus 134 over under 8.5. Overs minus 122. Unders even money. Pirates plus 1.5 is minus 178. Cubs minus 1.5 is plus 146. I don't get the favoritism from the Cubs. Jameson Taillon's been terrible for them. Give me Pittsburgh plus 114. Reds Royals. Brandon Williamson and Jordan Lyles. The Royals are favored minus 116. The Reds are minus 102 over under 9.5. Overs minus 122. Unders even money. Reds minus 1.5 is plus 155. Royals plus 1.5 is minus 188. So the Reds are favored on the run line. The Royals are favored on the money line. I like the Reds straight up minus 102. Nats Astros. Patrick Corbin and Hunter Brown. Astros minus 270. Nats plus 220 over under 8.5. Overs even money. Unders minus 122. Nats plus 1.5 is plus 108. Astros minus 1.5 is minus 130. Patrick Corbin, low-key, hasn't been that terrible this year. So I'm going to take the Nats plus 1.5 and plus 108 to keep it competitive. Mariners hosting the Marlins at 9:30. Edward Cabrera and George Kirby. The Mariners minus 138. The Marlins are plus 118 over under 7.5. Overs minus 102. Unders minus 120. Marlins plus 1.5 is minus 176. Mariners minus 1.5 is plus 146. Full game over. That's low. Really low. Phil's D-backs. Zach Wheeler and Zach Davies. So the battle of the Zachs. Wheeler's favorite minus 134. The D-backs plus 112 over under 9. Overs minus 102. Unders minus 120. Phillies minus 1.5 is plus 118. D-backs plus 1.5 is minus 142. I love the Diamondbacks again. Plus 112. It's stupid. The favoritism towards the Phillies because they made the World Series last year. That was last year. This is this year. And the Phillies are under 500 and the D-backs are rolling. Rays A's, Jalen Beeks and Hogan Harris. I don't see a lineup for this game yet, but I do expect the Rays to bounce back. If the total is anything less than 9, I'll consider the over. Guardians, Padres, Tanner Bibbe, and Joe Musgrove. Padres minus 164. The Guardians are plus 138 over under 7.5. Overs minus 115. Unders minus 105. Guardians plus 1.5 is minus 142. Padres minus 1.5 is plus 118. For this one, I like the full game over. And then last but not least, 10 o'clock, you have the White Sox at the Dodgers. Lance Lynn, Tony Gonsolin. Dodgers minus 205. White Sox plus 172 over under 9. Overs minus 106. Unders minus 114. White Sox plus 1.5 is minus 122. Dodgers minus 1.5 is plus 102. For this one, this is a good one. Lance Lynn was not good against the Yankees in his last time out. And he hasn't been good all year. Give me over 5 Dodger runs at minus 102. All right, now move on to the WNBA. We have some games that are on the docket for tonight. 7 o'clock on Twitter, Commissioner's Cup. You have the Mystics and the Fever. The Mystics are favored by 4.5. Total is 156.5. I am going to lay it on the road with Deladon, the Mystics. I think that's short, so I'm going to lay it on the road. 8 o'clock, CBS Sports Network, Dream Liberty from Barclays. The Liberty favored by 11.5. Total is 170.5. The Liberty are just a team on a mission. I think they win this by double digits, so I'm going to lay the 11.5 with New York against Atlanta. And then 10 o'clock, CBS Sports Network, you have the Storm and the Mercury. Commissioner's Cup game also. The Mercury favored by 5.5. Total is 162.5. I think that's a low number. Or, I'm sorry, a high number for a team that is only one game better than the team that they're hosting. So give me the Storm getting the 5.5. I think they're live to a plus 198 to win the game outright against Brittany Griner and the Mercury. All right, now move on to soccer. We will talk about results from yesterday, and we'll see what's on the docket for today. I don't think it's a lot. So, we'll see. I think we have some friendlies that we'll discuss. Yes. So international friendlies, Germany and Ukraine 3-3 draw. Kuwait over Zambia 3-0, and Morocco and Cape Verde Islands 0-0 draw. And then today, at 10 o'clock a.m., we have a women's international friendly between Andorra and Saudi Arabia. And today's international friendly for men, 4 o'clock, if Curacao and Puerto Rico. Tomorrow we have UEFA Nations League, so that's pretty big. And CONCACAF Nations on Thursday. So some fun soccer coming up. So yeah, we don't have lines for that. We'll go with Puerto Rico. And then we have the Maurice Ravello Tournament, Argentine Liga Professional, Argentine Primera B, and then Primera C. So not a lot for soccer today. Tomorrow will be a soccer-heavy. We have an MLS game. We have international friendlies. We have UEFA, the Challenge Cup, USL. So we do have some stuff tomorrow, so that's good. All right, now we'll move on to NCAA baseball. We have results to go over from yesterday. Number 8 Stanford beats Texas 7-6 to go to the World Series there for baseball. So congrats to Stanford. And then Tennessee beats Southern Miss 5-0 in the Hattiesburg Super Regional Game 3 as Tennessee goes to the World Series too. So our men's college World Series teams, Oral Roberts comes from the Eugene region. TCU comes from the Fort Worth region. Makes sense. Virginia comes from Charlottesville. Florida obviously comes from Gainesville. Stanford, like we said, comes from Stanford. Wake comes obviously from Winston-Salem. Tennessee, obviously, Hattiesburg, as we just talked about, and LSU comes from Baton Rouge region. So it's Stanford, Wake Forest, Tennessee, LSU, Oral Roberts, TCU, Virginia, and Florida. We'll preview and pick the Men's College World Series on Friday's podcast. Okay, the portfolio. Everyone knows the drill by now. I give out a future bet for the portfolio. My feel on the portfolios. I've been doing a lot of football. I've also been doing a lot of baseball. I'm thinking about the MLS a lot. And I keep looking at the futures for MLS. There's a couple that jump out, but if one jumps up, then I'll hop in. That might be next week's portfolio, so keep that in mind. So, looking at the board, there's a lot of value at different spots. And there's one that jumped out to me division-wise. But I really don't know if I want to go there. And I keep staring at the AL board for their odds. And I keep staring at the National League. And there's some good value on the board all over. And there was a number that jumped out to me. 27-1. The National League Rookie of the Year. Bobby Miller of the Dodgers. I'll lay a fifth of a unit on it. He was excellent in Sunday Night Baseball against the Yankees a few weeks ago. He's just been great all year. I understand Corbin Carroll's been awesome leading the Diamondbacks. What if the Diamondbacks fall apart? Maybe Corbin Carroll gets hurt. Who knows? Ali De La Cruz has just been a man on a mission on the Reds since he got called up. And I thought about the Reds for the NL Central at 10-1. I gave it a look. But that just feels too good to be true. So I'm going to go with Bobby Miller at 27-1 to win the NL Rookie of the Year. I love doing the Rookie of the Years for futures. All right, now I'm going to do my mock draft for the NBA, my latest one. This is my third one. So, without further ado, here we go. Number 1, the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama, center, France. As we know, this is the slam dunk selection for the Spurs as they luck out yet again with the franchise-altering big man in Wembanyama. Wemby is the best prospect to enter the league since LeBron James, and he is super intimidating on the court with his ability to shoot from anywhere and at the rim blocking shots. Number 2, the Charlotte Hornets. Scoot Henderson, point guard, G League Ignite. Despite a lot of Brandon Miller buzz here, Henderson should be the selection here for the Hornets. He has great athleticism and has all-NBA type of talent, and LaMelo Ball's presence should not stop the Hornets from taking Scoot. Number 3, the Portland Trailblazers. Brandon Miller, small forward, Alabama. What the Hornets do it to could very well affect what direction the Blazers go in terms of whether they trade Damian Lillard or not. Despite off-court troubles, Miller has the upside to be an elite scorer and a solid defender on a good team. Number 4, the Houston Rockets. Amen Thompson, point guard, overtime elite. This pick is absolutely in play to be traded with the Rockets' desire to bring back James Harden and to win now. Thompson has a ton of length and can guard any position realistically, but needs to become a better shooter. Number 5, the Detroit Pistons. Austin Thompson, shooting guard, small forward, overtime elite. The Pistons land a great talent here with Thompson, and the fit here would be interesting with Kate Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. Oster arguably has a higher ceiling than his brother Amen due to his three-point shooting ability, and that is something that the Pistons could use. 6, the Orlando Magic. Cam Whitmore, small forward, power forward, Villanova. This would be a really good pick for the Magic, and the fit with Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero would be interesting. Whitmore showed good catch-and-shoot promise while in college and is a really good defender, too. 7, the Indiana Pacers. Jarris Walker, power forward, Houston. The Pacers have some options here with this pick as they can potentially trade up if they want to. Walker is a versatile player on both ends of the court and would give the Pacers offense a different look. I almost said the Padres. Number 8, the Washington Wizards. Anthony Black, point guard, Arkansas. This would be a nice pick for the Wizards considering the need for a long-term point guard. Black is a big guard that does just about everything and is a smart player that knows how to utilize advantages. 9, the Utah Jazz. Grady Dick, shooting guard, Kansas. The Jazz were surprisingly decent this season, and they don't seem far off from being a threat. Dick makes a ton of sense here for the Jazz with his ability to shoot the three and defend, and has the ability to develop more as a player. 10, the Dallas Mavericks. Taylor Hendricks, power forward, UCF. The Mavs keep their draft pick courtesy of tanking out the playoffs to prevent themselves from losing their pick. Hendricks here makes a lot of sense because the Mavs may lose Christian Wood and Dwight Powell in free agency and has a lot of upside and would fit well with Luka Doncic. 11, the Orlando Magic from the Chicago Bulls. Jordan Hawkins, shooting guard, Connecticut. Hawkins announced that he is staying in the draft and he's making a good decision since he could be a lottery pick. The Magic are a team that needs the elite shooting on the perimeter, and Hawkins will provide that. 12, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Bilal Coulibaly, small forward, France. The Thunder can afford to take big swings on picks, and here I have them doing that with Coulibaly, who is a teammate of Victor Wembanyama. He has a ton of talent and has the length to be a solid defender. 13, the Toronto Raptors. Cason Wallace, point guard, Kentucky. The Raptors have a lot of questions this offseason, including what they should do with Fred VanVleet. Wallace here makes a lot of sense in case they lose VanVleet, and he is a good defender that can develop more offensively. 14, the New Orleans Pelicans. Derek Lively Jr., center, Duke. This pick makes sense since the Pelicans need a long-term answer at the center position. Lively has two-way upside as a player, but didn't really show that consistency in college and has the ability to play on the perimeter too. 15, the Atlanta Hawks. Keontae George, shooting guard, small forward, Baylor. The Hawks are very wing-heavy, so the way this pick would make sense is if they traded a few of their wings. George is super explosive and tends to get to the basket well, but his shooting has to improve on what he's shown. 16, the Utah Jazz from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jalen Hood-Schifino, point guard, shooting guard, Indiana. This pick would make a lot of sense for the Jazz since they may lose Jordan Clarkson in free agency. Hood-Schifino is a wild card in the draft that can go anywhere from the lottery to the end of the round as he's very skilled, but needs improvement with his shooting. 17, the Los Angeles Lakers. Jet Howard, shooting guard, small forward, Michigan. It's more likely than not that the Lakers trade this pick to get more help around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Howard is a really good scorer and could do so in so many ways. 17, the Miami Heat. Chris Murray, small forward, power forward, Iowa. The Heat are a team that wants to keep and add to its identity that got them to the finals. Murray, I feel, will be an impact player for anyone as he can come in and play good defense and has a good IQ. 19, the Golden State Warriors. Kobe Bufkin, point guard, shooting guard, Michigan. This would be a pick that makes sense considering the future of Klay Thompson is in the air as well as Jordan Poole's. Bufkin is a super quick and athletic on the perimeter and is a safe bet in this draft to be impactful. 20, the Houston Rockets from the Los Angeles Clippers. Noah Clowney, power forward, Alabama. With their second first-rounder, the Rockets go with somebody who's played on good teams in Clowney. He is a flawed offensive player, but is really good defensively and has impacted games. 21, the Brooklyn Nets from the Phoenix Suns. Nick Smith, point guard, shooting guard, Arkansas. The Nets get a steal here with Smith, but there are reasons why he may drop. Smith struggled in college a season ago with his injuries and inconsistencies, but could be worth the risk if he lives up to the hype he got in college. 22, the Brooklyn Nets. Leonard Miller. Small forward, power forward, G League Ignite. With their second first rounder, the Nets take the teammate of Scoot Henderson and Miller. He's somebody whose stock flew up several weeks ago. He's shown the ability to shoot the three well and has a chance to develop defensively too. 23, the Portland Trailblazers from the New York Knicks. James Nagy, center, France. This is a good long-term match, as Yusuf Nurkic is not the long-term answer at center for the Blazers. Nagy has solid physical tools as he's strong and lengthy and has a ton of potential defensively. 24, the Sacramento Kings. Colby Jones, shooting guard, Xavier. The Kings would be a good match for Jones since they need perimeter shooting. Jones is a solid all-around player and is a competitor that could help teams win. 25, the Memphis Grizzlies. Dariq Whitehead, small forward, Duke. The Grizzlies are under some pressure with this pick considering the John Morant situation. Whitehead would have been a lottery pick had he not fractured his foot his freshman year, and he would fit nicely as a secondary scoring option off the bench. 26, the Indiana Pacers from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Bryce Sensabaugh, shooting guard, small forward, Ohio State. With their second first rounder, the Pacers take the talented wing in Sensabaugh. He's your classic three-point bucket getter that can help swing a game. 27, the Charlotte Hornets from the Denver Nuggets. Ryan Rapport, shooting guard, small forward, France. This could be an interesting draft and stash player for the Hornets as they should take the swing here. Rapport has the ability to defend at a high level and has great wingspan. 28, the Utah Jazz from the Philadelphia 76ers. Maxwell Lewis, small forward, Pepperdine. With their third first rounder, I have the Jazz going with Lewis. He has the length and creates good shots for himself, which can cause him to move up draft boards. 29, the Indiana Pacers from the Boston Celtics. Jaime Jaquez, point guard, UCLA. With their third first rounder, I have the Pacers going with the former NCAA tournament standout in Jaquez. He's an excellent playmaker and has a really good mid-range game. And number 30, the Los Angeles Clippers from the Milwaukee Bucks. Olivier Maxence Prosper, small forward, power forward, Marquette. The Clippers can use young depth everywhere with a lot of long-term questions with the roster. Prosper is an aggressive player as he excels defensively but needs to develop an offensive game. So there you have it for my latest NBA mock draft. And now I'm going to do NBA offseason predictions, which should be a lot of fun. So, without further ado, here we go. All right, and we go in alphabetical order by name. By city, team name. This is juicy, guys. The Atlanta Hawks. Right off the bat, we have some sexiness. I have the Atlanta Hawks trading Trae Young and John Collins. 2, the Minnesota Timberwolves for Karl Anthony Towns and a 2024 pick swap. And there's probably going to be more involved in the deal. Maybe something else going to Atlanta. Maybe a 2000, future pick that they didn't trade for Gobert. Going to Atlanta too. But I just think this makes a lot of sense. I think those two guys are just meant to be traded for each other. Minnesota needs a point guard. And now Atlanta gets Towns at the power forward position. And then John Collins goes to Minnesota to replace Towns. Here's another sexy one. The Boston Celtics trade Jaylen Brown to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Tari Eason, the number 4 overall pick, 2025 Brooklyn Nets pick, and a 2025 or 2027 own first rounder. You can argue that's not enough for Jalen. You can argue that's not enough. Maybe I would say that the Rockets do make the pick for the Celtics, but this trade's announced after the draft, if that makes sense. So I'm going to say that's not enough for Jalen. I think it's reasonable for Jalen. And then when Jalen gets traded for another Jalen, so it'll be Jaylen Brown with Jabari Smith. And on the other side, you have Jalen Green, Tari Eason, Jason Tatum, Malcolm Brogdon. And then Boston will probably make some other changes as well. The Brooklyn Nets. Talk about more juice. So 3 doozies right off the gate. I have them acquiring Damian Lillard for the Portland Trailblazers for the 21st and 22nd overall picks in this year's draft. The 2025 Rockets swap, 2027 Suns pick, and Nick Claxton. I think that is a really good deal for Brooklyn and for Portland. And then Portland just starts over, builds around whoever they pick in the draft with the 3rd overall pick. And then maybe they move up in the draft and trade 21 and 22 to, I don't know, who's picking 13? Not the Pelicans. Not Orlando. Toronto. And then Toronto moves back or something like that. Or Atlanta at 15. But again, we'll see. Maybe the 15th pick goes to Minnesota in that deal. All right. The Charlotte Hornets. I'm going to say they trade the 27th pick and the 34th pick to move up to 19 from the Golden State Warriors. I think Charlotte wants to remake themselves a little bit, and maybe somebody good's still on the board, and they trade up. And then the Warriors get more assets for 19. The Chicago Bulls, I have them re-signing Nikola Vucevic to a terrible 5-year contract for $150 million. So he'll be getting paid $30 million a year. The Cleveland Cavaliers, I have trading Jared Allen to the Dallas Mavericks for a 2025 protected first rounder. I think Cleveland wants to try to make Evan Mobley their center. And they want to make a change to their nucleus. So the move would be to trade Jared Allen. And maybe they get like Dwight Powell in a sign and trade or something like that. Back or something. Speaking of the Dallas Mavericks, they're next. I have them re-signing Kyrie Irving 3 years, $120 million. So, nice deal for him. And maybe there's an opt-out after 1 or 2. The Denver Nuggets signs Max Strus away from the Miami Heat, 3 years, $51 million. So, I have him becoming like a swing guy off the bench for them. The Detroit Pistons sign Draymond Green away from the Golden State Warriors, 3 years, $90 million. That just makes a lot of sense. And the Warriors, like I said, just need to break up that team. The Golden State Warriors will trade Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga to the Charlotte Hornets for James Bouknight, a PJ Washington sign-and trade, and a 2024 second-round pick. This also makes a lot of sense. PJ Washington, good young player that could become their starting power forward. They get off Poole's money, and they have to attach Kuminga to it, unfortunately. And maybe a future protected first-round pick is in that deal going to Charlotte as well. The Houston Rockets will bring back James Harden on what will be a terrible 4-year, $160 million contract. The Indiana Pacers will sign Dylan Brooks, 4 years, $90 million. I just think it's funny, the idea of Dylan Brooks signing with the Pacers. The Los Angeles Clippers will sign D'Angelo Russell for 3 years, $90 million with an option after 1. I have an interesting trade here for the Lakers. They will acquire Jalen Suggs and Bull from the Orlando Magic for a 2029 top 3 protected first rounder. I just think that Orlando might want to change things up. Lakers go younger. The Memphis Grizzlies will sign Patrick Beverley on a 1-year, $10 million contract to replace John Morant for the pending suspension. The Miami Heat will sign Harrison Barnes to a 2-year, $40 million contract. The Milwaukee Bucks will re-sign Brook Lopez, 2 years, $34 million. The Minnesota Timberwolves will sign Jeremy Grant, 4 years, $88 million. That just makes sense too. That would be Rudy Gobert, John Collins, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Edwards, and Trae Young. And Minnesota would be really going for it in a different way. The New Orleans Pelicans will sign Gabe Vincent, 3 years, $48 million away from the Miami Heat. Just feel like the guy that the Pelicans would pick up. The New York Knicks will acquire Pascal Siakam from the Toronto Raptors for Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, 2024 Dallas first rounder, 2024 Pistons first rounder, and the 2026 first round pick of New York. So I think that's a fair trade on both sides. Randle can replace Siakam's production. RJ, sweetener in the deal. A lot of picks, including a potentially good Pistons pick, a good Dallas pick maybe, and maybe even a good Knicks pick. I think that's enough for Siakam, and I like the idea of Siakam and Jalen Brunson together. The Oklahoma City Thunder will sign Herb Jones, 4 years, $80 million. So I have Herb Jones leaving the Pelicans for OKC. And I think he's restricted too. So, if he is, then New Orleans is going to have to match club option. The Orlando Magic will sign Fred VanVleet, 4 years, $120 million. I think this is an excellent fit for Orlando. I like Fred VanVleet, good veteran, NBA champion that comes in and helps that young team out. That's why I have them making that trade so they can bring in a veteran. The Philadelphia 76ers acquire Bradley Beal from the Washington Wizards for Tobias Harris, Furkan Korkmaz, 2026 first, 2028 first, and a 2030 swap. That's a lot for Bradley Beal, but I just think he's the perfect player to play with Joel Embiid as a second fiddle. As I have James Harden going back to Houston, I feel like everyone and their mother does. And if he doesn't, I'm going to have egg on my face, and so is everybody else, because everyone and their mother had Kevin Durant to the Knicks 4 years ago, and look what happened. And that could be that, but you never know. But yeah, I like the idea of Beal and Embiid together, and they keep Maxey. So how about that? Instead of throwing Maxey in there, they throw in an extra pick instead. The Phoenix Suns trade Chris Paul to the San Antonio Spurs for a 2024 second, 2026 second, and Trey Jones sign-and-trade. I like that possible deal for San Antonio. Chris Paul goes in with Victor Wembanyama and what I think is going to be a new-look team in San Antonio. So, who knows? Maybe Keldon Johnson goes in that deal too. But I think that would be a lot for Chris Paul. And then there would have to be more going to San Antonio there. The Portland Trailblazers will trade Yusuf Nurkic to the Toronto Raptors for a 2024 second and Christian Koloko. So Portland's blowing it up pretty much. They're saying, we're rebuilding, we're done. The Sacramento Kings will sign Bruce Brown, 3 years, $54 million. So Bruce Brown leaves the Nuggets and goes to the Sacramento Kings to play with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. The San Antonio Spurs will sign not one, but 2 marquee free agents. Kyle Kuzma, 4 years, $96 million, and Austin Reeves, 4 years, $90 million. So 2 big free agents going to play in San Antonio. They play with Victor Wembanyama, and they get Chris Paul, and that all of a sudden looks like a top 8 team in the West. The Toronto Raptors will sign Russell Westbrook, 3 years, $60 million. I think that his little run with the Clippers got him some money, and there you go. The Utah Jazz will sign Chris Middleton, 4 years, $140 million. They need a scoring wing, and I like the idea of Middleton there with Kessler and Lauri Markkanen. So I really like that potential veteran going in there to help them improve. And then the Washington Wizards will sign and trade Kristaps Porzingis to the Indiana Pacers. A 2 years, $66 million deal with an opt-out after 1 for 2025 second, Jason Smith, and Jordan and Nwora. So Kristaps Porzingis goes to play with Tyrese Halliburton. So the Pacers take a chance on him. So it's Kristaps Porzingis, Dylan Brooks, and Andrew Nembhard, and Benedict Mathurin with Tyrese Halliburton. That's a interesting group. And Miles Turner. And then Nembhard would be the 6th man, or Dylan Brooks would be the 6th man. So I think that is a very interesting team proposed by me to the Indiana Pacers. So there you have it for my 2023 NBA offseason predictions. There's some free agents that I forgot about. Christian Wood, Jakob Poeltl, Kenyon Martin Jr., Dennis Schroeder, Cam Johnson. I just think that he is going back to Brooklyn, so it wasn't worth making a prediction about him. Jordan Clarkson, I think, will probably go back to the Utah Jazz. Josh Hart will probably go back to the New York Knicks. And that's really it among notable free agents for the NBA. All right, now I'll move on to the news and notes for today. I'm going to rapid fire this like I rapid fired yesterday's as well. Nikola Jokic doesn't want a parade. We were talking about Jokic earlier. Jimmy Butler on the Hall of Fame ceremony, he says he wouldn't even attend the ceremony if he was elected. And then, of course, everybody's making the jokes he wouldn't show up for that, and he wouldn't show up for Game 5 of the finals. That was before he kind of got going in that game. Keaton Wynn got called up by the Giants, first Major League game, and was also first time at an MLB stadium. There was somebody that cashed in on an 800-1 parlay and won $83,000. We talked about Taylor Harrow already. Travis Kelce got to do a do-over after spiking a first pitch in April. Brittany Griner harassed at an airport. Police details an incident involving Brittany Griner at the DFW during Phoenix Mercury's travel on Saturday. Yikes. So that's the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. That's unfortunate for sure. There's an investigation on the golf merger as U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal announces that he has opened the review into the PGA's planned alliance with LIV. And then Commissioner Jay Monahan said that the PGA was left on our own to fend off attacks by the LIV in a letter obtained by Politico. The Pelicans want to go after Scoot Henderson. That would be interesting. Butter Baker's at the Cardinals facility despite the trade request. Danielle Hunter holding out as he plans to skip mandatory minicamp amid contract talks, same for Saquon Barkley of the Giants. Mac Jones would welcome DeAndre Hopkins. He says, obviously, we'd love to have him. DeAndre Hopkins had a successful visit with the Tennessee Titans, will remain in contact. St. John's gets a player of Simeon Wilker, previously committed to North Carolina, so that's interesting. U.S. intern head coach B.J. Callaghan names MLS heavy roster for CONCACAF Gold Cup later this month. La Liga MVP Ter Stegen, the Barca keeper, after 26 clean sheets and 18 goals conceded. The New York Mets bring in Luke Voigt, the former Yankee and Brewer, on a minor league deal. Ryan Helsley on the injured list with the forearm strain, not good for the Cardinals. With the hits, just keep on hitting for them. The All-Star ballot came out in terms of right now. Ronald Acuna Jr. and Shohei Ohtani lead the way. Fred VanVleet declined his option and is now a free agent. The Golden State Warriors to restructure the roster. They're not actively shopping Jordan Poole, but no one outside of Curry is safe. They're shopping Jordan Poole. Come on. And I buy that no one's safe other than Curry. And lastly, the New York Rangers are getting closer to a deal to make Peter Laviolette the next head coach of the team. I honestly would not really like that hire, but at the same time, I wouldn't really hate the hire either. It's just another retread coach that's bounced around. But then again, it worked in Dallas to Pete DeBoer. It's just that he just wasn't good with the Capitals. But then again, the Capitals are a team that's on the decline anyway. So maybe Laviolette got a raw deal. The Rangers are a better team than the Washington Capitals. So that's your argument for Laviolette. But I would have gone elsewhere. Personally, I would have gone with Chris Knobloch, the AHL coach, who's done a great job turning around the Hartford Whalers. And in that way, you try to go for the next Jared Bendart. But maybe they're thinking of Peter Laviolette with the Preds and taking them to the final, or the board taking the Sharks to the final, although that was a long time ago. But we see these retread coaches take teams to the final or the conference finals right away, just like what happened with the Rangers 2 years ago with Gallant. And then, like we saw this year, like I said, with Dallas with DeBoer, I feel like this is something that the league has been doing, but I wouldn't have gone in that direction if I am the Rangers. All right, last but not least, my best bet of the day brought to you by FanDuel. One jumped out at me. It was a baseball total. Marlins Mariners over 7.5. It was minus 102. That is extremely low. George Kirby's kind of been struggling lately. And Edward Cabrera really hasn't been great either. Oh, it went up to minus 115. But guess what? I'm still taking it. I'm just going to lay the half unit on it and call it a day. All right, so that's it for the show. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything, look at everything. Tomorrow we'll make a pick for the U.S. Open, potentially NHL offseason predictions for tomorrow's show, depending on how the Stanley Cup Final goes. We'll have an MLB mock draft regardless. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.